Welcome, welcome. This is Legacy. My name is Markham Davis. This program is dedicated to helping you to learn how to live with purpose, find fulfillment, and be remembered. And I am so fired up to tell you everything that led up to this and to share with you the inaugural episode, which is right now, and you're here. I got to tell you what I discovered over a course of my life, and I'll tell you some of those stories, some of the people I've worked with, tens of thousands of people actually over the last couple of decades. And the war I had to endure, living 8 years in Ukraine and doing the charity work with the orphanages there, all led to one final conclusion, and that is how are legacies created. I saw mine coming together, I saw others, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So first off, I got to share you the story of my friend Rick. Rick was a typical guy, and in parallel some of my stories, which I'll get to in a little bit, but Rick was a guy who had tried many things to find his place in the world. He had worked younger days installing car stereos and window tinting, tried his hand at even pastoring for a while, went on to work for an insurance company where they had him doing talks. But the frustration was as his marriage didn't work out and he found himself as a single dad with a daughter he loved and being worked to death, not having time to give her that he really wanted to. He really felt that he was just giving her the leftovers. So leftovers, whatever energy he had left at the end of the day. And it ached in his heart. He didn't know what to do. What do you do? I can't break more time. I'm so worked to keep up with what I'm doing. Where is all this going? And I know this is so common to so many people. What he ended up doing was simply, all in his heart was to write a book. And he wrote a book and got it out. And fortunately, it got into the right hands of somebody who says, I want you to come and speak at the university and use your book as an example from my literature class. He thought, really? So he did it. And he got to talk about something he loved, a book he wrote. And he didn't know people were really reading it. It was kind of exciting for him. And not only that, he got paid for it. And after this, it got referred to another professor and he got paid again. So he spent and dedicated himself to going, how can I do this for a living? How can I get paid for speaking? And over the next 2 years, he ended up developing a speaking business that not only is he into moving into full-time, and by his third year, he's making $300,000 a year. It freed him up. I just talked to his daughter yesterday, of course, now as an adult, and she was saying, I loved those last few years in high school with my dad, because he had the admissions office on speed dial where he'd call him and say, my daughter's not coming in today, and they would go off skiing. I met Rick, and he counseled and coached me with one of my businesses. So let me reverse back to my story. I'm going to tie all these together. I had a similar story. I love life. I always have. I've always had a zest. I've had an energy. I got to work on a Steven Spielberg project, actually. I was a construction rep, and he did something called Game Work Emporiums, which is a cool video arcade, microbrewery. Maybe you've been to one of them. There are 30 or 40 locations across the country. And that was really exciting. I love that energy. That same job, I got to also help with the architectural design team that did the New York, and Las Vegas. I loved life. It was busy. It wasn't going anywhere particularly, but it was good for me. I was enjoying myself. I had my ups and downs. My second wife ended up developing a debilitating condition, which ended up taking her life. And I spent a lot of my 30s caretaking for her and then going through that process. I've had 4 children. I've now got 6 grandchildren, 5 technically, 1 on the way. I'm approaching 60, and I just look at the things I was given to do, and it was a blessing. So honestly, before I get into this whole conversation about leaving a legacy and an impact, something that's going to change the world, change lives, I want to tell you something. There's nothing wrong with just enjoying the life you've been given, living fully, basking in what's available for you, tasting the juice of that. You know, like many of us, in the 2000s, I went on to build an empire. Money was it would just seem like it was so free-flowing. You know, I had investment properties, 5,500 square foot house, Jaguar, Mercedes. I had built a distributorship to $5.5 million and was just full of life. And you hope this was going to be the way it goes forever, right? This is life. It's grand. It's glorious. What a thing to do. Traveled the world, fished on the Amazon, caught alligators with the local natives. Incredible stories. And then, of course, what happened in '08. And when the crash happened and you lose everything, the value in all your properties reverses. You end up losing all those in bankruptcy. The entire industry your business was in evaporated in 18 months. And after 2 years of no income, trying to figure out what to do next, find yourself completely shifting energy and figuring out what's it all about. I lost it. And in most of our cases, we find so much of our identity tied into the story of what I do is what I'm about, that it's devastating, it's crushing. That was me, that was my identity, that was my business, I was successful. Who am I now that I'm not? And it was that conversion that Rick actually gave me a call. It was actually the day I'm packing my bags, packing boxes, putting into the moving van out of my 5,500 square foot house, when he called and says, "Hey, Mark, I saw some of your stuff on the internet. I want to talk to you about a business idea I have." And I'm like, "This is not a good time, bro. Don't know who you are. You sound great. Love you, man. But I'm literally packing my boxes to the moving van." So he goes, "All right, I'll call you later." That was December 10th. And on Christmas Day, 2 weeks later, he calls me again, figuring I didn't have anything to do. So sure enough, I'm sitting in the place we moved into. My parents had an apartment they weren't using. So I'm sitting there consoling myself, and he's telling me, "I have this great idea, and I want to teach you how to do this business that is going to be personal development for men." And it was just pleasant to hear somebody with bright energy, somebody who believed in me again. And so I said, "All right, Rick, let's give it a shot." And he and I developed a very close relationship. He taught me many things about how to love your people and how to do something that is going to motivate and turn them and change the world, and how to do all of that together in really a beautiful way. I loved his energy. I loved his spirit. I loved his inspiration. I'm very grateful he found me. And as we built a business together, and he was just my advisor, we just became really good friends. I got to go out and spend time with him, and he came out with me up in Ukraine. Well, I'll tell you that story in a second. Found his wife there, and we just really began to love each other. And as I learned more about him and the transition he made in his life, how he used the book to launch a speaking career, and now he was teaching others how to make speaking careers and do things with their talents. He was just full of life and energy. It was a sadness that gripped my heart. He had to battle with cancer, and at one time it finally did take him. And I remember 2 days before he was to have this surgery, he was hoping that that would solve it. He says, "Mark, the surgery's got to work because God's got to give me 10 more years." He goes, "I have more books in me because I know what those do for the world." And on his memorial video, when people chimed in and they all commented on what Rick did for them, you couldn't help but be inspired. You couldn't help but feel the deep love that this man had touched so many people. And he did it, and many of them never met him in person. They read his book, or they got an online course, or were in a mastermind online. And many of them, of course, in his family, his daughter loved him dearly. And I was overwhelmed with this. I was looking at this going, this is so powerful. I go, what is this? What is the secret? What did he do to leave such an impact? Here he was, a guy who had simply a corporate job, just working for a company and doing stuff to make their dreams come true, feeling frustrated, not having the time for his daughter, not making the financial ends he wanted, to finishing a life with such beauty and power. And as I sat down and really thought about it, and as he taught me, I was doing a weekly live stream for men. I wanted to do one on legacy, and it came together to me. I found in that entire conversation, of that tribute to Rick, that there were 5 things that seemed to stand out as ways that people would talk about him, his life, and the way they touched him. And it was the people in his life, the relationships he had. It was the experiences, and we had some crazy ones together, lots of fun between Ukraine and Colorado and in Salt Lake City and places we met together. There were assets he created. By the time he went, not only did he leave something for his daughter, but there was a ranch he had gotten in eastern Washington that he left for his new wife. There was creation. He wrote the books. And then there was just the expressions of kindness that he did. And not only giving back when I started working with the orphanages, helping with that, but just the kindnesses he did for people that he didn't make any money on it, just because it was in his heart and it was beautiful to do. And as I came up with this formula and taught it, I realized this is really beautiful. This is powerful. This is really powerful. I can do this. And what if every day I just touched on one of those 5? The compounding effect of that, how would that end up impacting the world, the life? Wouldn't it be a place where I would end up having a legacy? And so the focus on this and continue to teach men and teaching this as I develop my own mastermind groups, my online programs, and my in-person teaching, I saw, you know what, this is so simple and so beautiful. And that led me to everything that we're going to go through together. And I want to tell you something. The ability to leave a legacy, a lasting impact, where you're going to live with a sense of purpose, find fulfillment and satisfaction, and be remembered is so simple. And every day to touch on one of these areas in some small way, the compounding effect of that is you will be in the same place where people are going to remember you fondly, relationships you had, the experiences that you did and shared with people, the assets you'll be able to leave for family, for people you love, the things you create that people you'll never even meet will be able to enjoy and experience and benefit their lives. And these expressions of kindness. Maybe it's just being there for someone when they're down and giving the right word at the right time that turns them around and lifts them up. Or maybe it is doing something like I did with a nonprofit or some kind of a philanthropic effort of some kind. But whatever it is, there is no way this formula is wrong. I thought about, trying to find something, a hole in this program is like, there's no way. If you do these 5 things, they're going to create a legacy. And I was so excited about that because I was researching, trying to find different things people talk about legacy. There were many different formulas out there, but none of them came down to this kind of way you can apply it to your life, and anybody can. I love John C. Maxwell. I follow a lot of his stuff, and he had said legacy is about raising up the next leader, so that after you, other people are continuing your mission. Well, that's true, but that's just simply in the corporate world. I go, there's got to be more to it than that. Other people talked about legacy in terms of, one of the strategies you do in personal development is imagine you're at your own funeral. Imagine what people would say and write about you. Imagine your own eulogy. And I tried this exercise. I don't know if you've tried this. It's really great. So imagine you're writing this out. Markham, he was a really good guy. Did cool things. It just feels weird. It feels strange. But if it breaking down this little formula, it became so natural and easy. And it also gave me focus. Many other things that it did. But before I get into the rest of those, I'm going to share another story with you that was really profound and impacted my life. I had received, as I was doing work for Abundance International and the charity work I've been doing, I received a letter from the Inglewood, Colorado Federal Correctional Institute. They had sent to me a donation put together by the inmates. And let me read this letter to you. And with the magic of instant editing, I now have the letter in front of me. Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm really excited to share this journey with you. I'm going to enjoy this. And this is going to be you and me really developing something great. I'm just going to be your friend, and I want you to really feel this is something connecting between the two of us. We're going to make some great things happen and enjoy the process. You're going to realize how easy this is. You don't need to be a wealthy billionaire. You don't have to have any other credentials. It doesn't take a lot of time. There's so many things that I've made simple in this here for you. And the other side of it is, if you are a billionaire, a lot of guys with money, other people are feeling like I've created all of this. It's just going to get passed down and other kids are going to get to spend it. And it's like, I want to know that I was here, that I did something that meant something, that I had an impact on the world, and that people understand it was me. And so I'm going to help you with all of that. I truly believe in that. Part of this formula is not just so you can feel this surge of sense of living with purpose and finding true fulfillment, satisfaction in your life, but that you will be remembered and people will remember you by name. So stay with us, hang on this program, and do me a favor, not only subscribe to this and follow it, share it with friends, because I truly believe if everyone had a sense of destiny, that they're doing something that adds up and means something, the shift in the world would be fantastic. But let's start with you and me, and I got to read you this letter. So imagine this. I'm doing the work for the orphans over in Ukraine. The war happens, and a month in, I'm buried. And we just quickly expanded the work we're doing. It was crisis management. And a month later, a month after the war starts, I get this letter from the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Prisons. Dear Markham Davis, Abundance International, this year, an inmate at the Federal Corrections Institute in Inglewood saw your Fox News story and asked to do a community service project in which he could solicit donations from other inmates for your organization to aid the children affected by the war in Ukraine. To do this, he worked with drug treatment psychology staff to organize a drive during which he educated inmates on your cause and encouraged them to donate what they could from their commissary accounts. In the end, he was able to rally and generate the population of the prison to donate a total of $5,615.11. This is going to be sent to you as a check directly from the institution, and I did. I got a government check to put this together. But he says what makes this particular donation drive unique is that everyone who donated is currently incarcerated for committing a federal crime. Many of these men are indigent themselves. They don't have money, yet they still found the will to donate whatever they could to support those less fortunate. This opportunity afforded the inmates a chance to create a positive sense of self-worth, to improve physical well-being, engage in community service, and demonstrate how criminal rehabilitation can work and prove that good things can happen even inside a prison. If it's not too much to ask, we would request a brief letter from Abundance International acknowledging the work of the inmates at the Federal Correctional Institute of Inglewood. Any recognition they receive for helping the greater community only serves to boost their self-esteem and reiterate the fact that good deeds are valuable and appreciated. Your responses letter will then be posted to over 1,200 inmates for them to all see. And on behalf of the inmates and the staff here at FCI Inglewood, thank you for the work you do in our community and the world. And you know, it's interesting. When I started the work in 2012 to work with the orphanages, I had family in Ukraine. I loved it there and just wanted to find a way to give back to the community. And it wasn't a big deal. This is what I want you to understand. These things compound over time. Literally, it was this thought, hey, what can we do to give back to the community? And somebody says, hey, well, maybe we'll do something for the orphans. I go, I don't know. Have you ever? I don't know. We don't know anybody there. So we walked in the door, said, hi, can we do something to help? And they were like, and who are you? But from there, we built a relationship and we found out the gaps they had between what the government could provide and what they could do. We ended up building ICU units, birthing centers. We built learning centers for Down syndrome kids. We ended up becoming a regular supplier of diapers because that's something they didn't have. These kids literally would be rotated on pots. And we just loved the work. And every time we go there, we'd be able to just play with the kids. They were so warm and embracing, come sit on our laps. And we expanded it to a second orphanage in Kherson. And that one was in worse condition. We had to redo everything. The electrical system wasn't even up to grid to handle today's systems. And we had to redo the heating system, the roof. And we started with the sleeping quarters and the whole time also providing the supplementation and food and diapers they weren't getting. And what a joy, their hearts of gratitude. They provided for us things like a little Christmas pageant where these kids did a little dance and put on costumes for us to say thank you and made us handcrafted gifts. What a joy. And then, of course, as you all have watched on the news, February 24th, 5:30 in the morning, I was there, and the bombs went off blowing up the airport in Mykolaiv, where I'd been living for all those years before. And we knew it was on. I had an inkling, and we had known for months before that there's a good chance of this happening. And of course, all the family and friends I had back home had told me, get out, get out, get out. And I certainly could have. You know, as an American citizen living over there as a permanent resident, I could have left at any time. And common sense would have said I should have, but I couldn't. And for three reasons. And I want to share this with you. Because I'd gotten on a different mindset, because I'd shifted my thought to legacy, it was an easy decision, and it came down to three reasons. First, I thought to myself, how would I feel if I'm sitting home in front of a big screen TV, knowing the employees, the family, people I loved over there were having to endure hardship? It would kill me. Second thing, I wanted to be able to look back a year later and say, you know what? I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of how I conducted myself. I'm proud of that I stayed in, even if it was hard, and did what I could. And the third reason was I believe it's a part of destiny. If I'm there in such a situation, then maybe God has me there for such a time as this. There's something I could do. And all of those things came true. And the stories we had every day, working to resolve crisis, working to get things together. And even now that we've had to move our offices here back into the U.S., and we still have our network set up, and every day we're providing as we can over there. It's hard to get around the country right now, as you can imagine. I want to let you know that the profound impact of Rick's life, of studying what it means to create a legacy has changed the way I look at everything. And because of that, can you imagine in the story I just told you about choosing to stay, the work we're doing to help these children, and how that work is expanded now to 20 orphanages over there, just how satisfying it is and how richly rewarding it is. And none of that really would have been in place if I hadn't shifted my mindset into legacy. You see, I want you to understand, you can have a great life. You can have it filled with adventure. It can be roller coasters, trips around the Caribbean, sailing, parties, and the whole thing, and really take in everything this life has to offer. But there's a part of where, just like breathing in and breathing out, if you're just taking in, there's a part of you that feels like, I should also be putting out, and there's something deeply satisfying. Of all the core needs of men's hearts, whether it's, of course, I have survival instinct needs. I have needs to compare, to see how far I'm growing, to establish myself in a better place. All the different needs we have for connection with people. One of the driving needs we cannot ignore is the need for significance. We have to know that we mattered. We have to know that we made a difference, that we were here for a reason, and that the world is better because we're here, not worse, being part of the solution, not part of the problem. And so it doesn't happen by accident, but it also doesn't take a lot. It's just intention. Just simply the thought of, I want to. And today I want to do something, looking at those 5 areas and seeing which one I can touch today. Now, it's interesting as I'm preparing this work and the book that'll be coming out as a result of all these things we're doing, I listed these 5 categories that I got from being part of Rick's memorial service. People in your life, relationships that are deeply satisfying, what you do to invest in them, experiences, which are joy and celebration, but also people remember having done things with you. Assets, feeling like I did something to leave for those dear to me, after I'm gone, some benefit, or maybe even in this world, that you can do to help those who are your family. Creating something. And people do this in all forms. It's not just books, music, art, television productions, whatever your case may be. In anything you create, a business you can pass on to somebody else, any of those things can touch people who will never meet you in person and benefit their life. And the final thing is expressions of kindness. Now, I didn't realize this till I got those down. People, experiences, assets, creations, expressions of kindness. The first letter of those words spell peace. It's not only a peace you get to live with every day, but you get to go in peace, knowing that you did something great. And the one thing I want to share in wrapping this up is I want to invite you to go on this journey with me. Make this an experience we share together. Come along for the ride. Be my friend, and I want to be yours. And let's do something that just feels amazing, just that's exciting, that we know is going to touch people, where they're going to be so glad because of you. It wasn't that long ago when I was simply on the ride, enjoying it for myself. And I remember the big company I had, the computer leasing company, it's like, that was great, but I didn't feel like anybody was thanking me for signing a contract and delivering a computer. This is different. And it was because I now had an intention to find it that I did, and I want that for you. I'm going to teach you. Don't worry about it. Just show up. Just show up. That's my motto. And in doing so, we're going to have a great experience. We're going to have a great ride. Please share this with friends. Invite them to come along. Because in this program about legacy, it's a blast. You'll learn to love life again on every level. And know this is why I'm here. And it's a lot of fun. Join, stay tuned, catch everyone, share it. We're going to change the world together, but starting with us and having a heck of a lot of fun. Thanks for being part of Legacy with Markham Davis. I look forward to sharing legacy makers, more stories, and hearing from you. And if you know somebody who's a good legacy maker, they're going to be in the Dallas area, shoot me an email too, markham@markhamdavis.com, and I want to see if maybe I'll have a chance to interview them here. We'll share their story with the rest of the world. Be good, live on. As we always say, your legacy is about living with purpose, finding fulfillment, and being remembered. See you next time.